Imagine a life with no risk, no heartbreaks, no failures, no uncomfortable conversations. It sounds pretty good, right? Maybe even safe. But I want you to imagine something else too, a life without stories, without laughter that makes your sides hurt, or love so powerful it cracks you wide open. Imagine never putting yourself out there, never daring, never dreaming, never giving anyone a real glimpse of who you are. Because the truth is, no risk is just another way of saying no story. We all know stories matter. They are how we connect, how we make sense of the world. They make us feel a part of something larger, something that resonates deep inside of us. But every good story, every real story has some risk woven into it. Every story worth telling, every moment that changed you had one thing in common at some point. You had to take a risk, a leap, a step that felt scary, vulnerable, or maybe downright terrifying. Taking risks pushes us to step beyond the familiar, beyond what we know we're capable of, and into a space where real growth happens. When we stay in our comfort zones, everything feels predictable and safe. We know how the story goes because we've lived it before. But without the willingness to face uncertainty, to dare to do something that scares us, we risk stagnation. Growth doesn't happen in a bubble of safety. It happens out there on the edges where things feel uncomfortable, unknown, and sometimes terrifying. Risk is the catalyst for change, the spark that ignites growth, and the start of all meaningful journeys that push us closer to our fullest potential. Imagine a seed buried underground. It's safe there, protected from the harsh world above. But in order to grow, that seed must push up through the soil, risking its energy and its security to reach for sunlight. The process is not without challenges. There are obstacles in its path, elements it cannot control, forces stronger than itself. But through this struggle, it grows. If that seed were to stay buried, it would never become the plant it's meant to be. It's the same for us. Risk is our sunlight, our opportunity to break through the limits we place on ourselves, to uncover strength and resilience we never knew we had. When we embrace risk, we stretch, we grow, and we become more of who we're meant to be. Taking risks also teaches us valuable lessons we couldn't learn otherwise. When we step into the unknown, we can't control the outcome, and there's a very real possibility of failure. But in failure, we discover truths about ourselves that aren't accessible in safe, comfortable spaces. We learn about our resilience, our capacity to adapt, and our ability to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and try again. Each failure contains lessons, like hidden gems that we can only uncover by going through the experience. We may learn that we're stronger than we thought, that we can handle rejection or disappointment and still move forward. We may realize that mistakes aren't the end of the world, they're part of the journey, each one adding a layer to our character and strengthening our resolve. In taking risks and sometimes failing, we come face to face with our own vulnerability and strength, growing not only in skill but in self-awareness and self-compassion. Risks are also powerful teachers of flexibility and adaptability. Life rarely goes exactly as planned, and when we take a risk, we're forced to adjust to circumstances that might be different from what we expected. This process of adapting to the unexpected teaches us to be resilient in the face of change. When we take risks, we learn to pivot, to see setbacks not as insurmountable walls but as detours that can lead us to new and valuable experiences. I think of any significant achievement you've made, likely the journey wasn't perfectly smooth. The path was winding, sometimes rocky, with moments when you had to rethink your strategy. Through this process, you learn to be adaptable, to face new challenges with confidence. This flexibility becomes one of our most valuable skills, one that enables us to face future challenges with a sense of confidence and calm. When we take risks, we also start to redefine what we're capable of. Many of us have self-imposed limits. We believe we can't do certain things, that certain dreams are out of reach. But each time we take a risk and push against those boundaries, we expand our sense of what we're able to achieve. We grow in confidence with each step, realizing that we're capable of more than we once thought. This self-discovery is one of the greatest gifts of risk-taking. As we challenge our limits, we begin to see that those boundaries were mostly imagined, a construct of our fears and doubts. We begin to trust ourselves, to see ourselves as capable, resilient, and worthy of taking up space in the world. Each risk we take is a step into the unknown, and with each step we transform. We transform our understanding of ourselves, of what's possible, and of how we fit into the larger world. When we look back on our lives, the moments that stand out are not the safe, easy moments, but the ones where we risk something. These are the moments we remember, the ones that make up our story. And in each of these stories, there's growth, a lesson learned, a challenge overcome, a strength revealed. So, taking risks is not just about stepping into the unknown for the sake of adventure. It's about choosing to grow, to learn, and to become more fully ourselves. Risk is uncomfortable, and it's often terrifying, but it's also necessary. It's the path we take to discover what lies beyond the boundaries of our fears. And beyond those boundaries is a life filled with richness, resilience, and a story that's truly worth telling. Taking risks pushes us to step beyond the familiar, beyond what we know we're capable of, and into a space where real growth happens. Meaningful stories emerge when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, stepping out of the armor we often wear to face the world. Vulnerability means showing up as we are, imperfections and all, without hiding behind pretense or fear. It's the willingness to be seen fully, even when we're unsure of the outcome or what others will think. Vulnerability is uncomfortable, even scary, because it exposes us to the possibility of rejection, failure, and criticism. But it's precisely because of this openness that our most impactful stories are born. When we choose vulnerability, we tap into something raw, something authentic, something that resonates deeply not only with ourselves but with others. And it's in this authenticity that stories worth telling take shape. Vulnerability is a fundamental part of being human, yet it's one of the hardest aspects to embrace. Many of us avoid vulnerability because it feels risky, it's uncomfortable to admit our fears, our insecurities, and our imperfections. We might feel safer when we keep our struggles hidden, presenting only the parts of ourselves that seem polished and put together. But when we do this, we miss out on the depth and connection that comes from being real. A story without vulnerability is like a hollow shell. It lacks the heart and soul that makes it relatable. To create a story that others can feel, one that leaves a lasting impact, we must allow ourselves to be seen in our most genuine form, stripped of masks and pretense. It's only through this openness that our stories gain meaning and significance. Being vulnerable also allows us to build empathy and connection. When we share a story from a place of vulnerability, we're letting others into our world in an honest way. Think of the times when someone shared a struggle with you, opening up about something they found challenging or painful. Didn't that moment of honesty make you feel closer to them? Didn't it allow you to see them as a whole person, not just the image they project to the world? This is the power of vulnerability. It humanizes us. By sharing our vulnerabilities, we give others permission to acknowledge their own struggles, creating a space where empathy can thrive. Vulnerability lets others see that they're not alone, that they're not the only ones facing difficulties. And in this shared understanding, connections deepen, stories take on life, and the walls we often put up begin to come down. There's a certain freedom in vulnerability, too. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we let go of the exhausting need for perfection. Instead of focusing on curating an image, we embrace who we truly are, imperfections and all. This honesty is liberating because it releases us from the weight of constantly trying to be something we're not. And in letting go of the pressure to be flawless, we allow ourselves to experience life in a fuller, richer way. As vulnerability becomes a gateway to authenticity. And when we share from this place of truth, our stories reflect our real experiences and emotions, making them infinitely more powerful and memorable. When we're willing to say, "This is who I am, and these are my struggles," we create stories that resonate because they're grounded in reality, in the messy, unpredictable, and beautiful aspects of being human. Vulnerability is also a courageous act. It takes bravery to open up, to share parts of ourselves that we often hide, especially in a world that values strength, success, and invulnerability. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we're choosing courage over comfort, knowing full well that we might be judged, misunderstood, or rejected. But it's precisely this courage that adds weight and depth to our stories. A story born from vulnerability is one that comes from a place of courage, a place that says, "I know I might be hurt, but I'm going to open up anyway." This kind of bravery is contagious. When we share from a place of vulnerability, others feel encouraged to do the same. We create an environment where honesty and openness are valued, and this is where true connections are made. Vulnerability is transformative not only for the storyteller but also for the listener. When we share our stories, we allow others to learn from our experiences. By opening up about our failures, our heartbreaks, and our fears, we give others a chance to see what resilience looks like, to understand that it's okay to struggle, and to know that they're not alone in their own challenges. Vulnerable stories remind us that life isn't always neat or perfect. It's full of highs and lows, of victories and setbacks. This reality is comforting and inspiring because it shows us that even in our struggles, there's meaning, there's growth, and there's beauty. We begin to see vulnerability as a strength rather than a weakness, as a source of connection rather than something to hide from. Our most memorable stories are the ones in which we allowed ourselves to be real, to embrace the unknown, and to show up as we are. Vulnerability is the thread that weaves depth, honesty, and authenticity into our lives and our stories. It's a powerful reminder that we don't need to have it all together to make an impact. Our stories are enough just as they are, precisely because of the vulnerability within them. When we take the risk of being vulnerable, we give others a glimpse into the heart of our journey. And that's where stories worth telling are born. In each moment of vulnerability, we find a story that resonates with the human experience, one that doesn't just speak to others but connects with them on a level that words alone could never achieve. When we share stories from a place of vulnerability, we allow others to see the parts of ourselves that aren't always perfect, polished, or easy. We share the experiences that have shaped us, and in doing so, we tap into something deeply human, a shared understanding of what it means to face challenges, to fall short, to struggle, and to grow. This kind of sharing is the foundation of genuine connection because it breaks down the barriers that often keep us apart. In a world where we're constantly encouraged to present an idealized version of ourselves, telling real, vulnerable stories reminds us that we're not alone in our experiences. It's these shared, unfiltered moments that bring us closer, building bonds based on empathy, authenticity, and mutual understanding. When someone shares a story about a personal struggle or a moment of doubt, it resonates because it speaks to our own insecurities and fears. Maybe you hear a friend talk about their anxiety over a big decision or their feelings of inadequacy in a new role, and you realize that you felt those exact same things. The details of the story might be different, but the underlying emotions are universal. This recognition creates a sense of shared humanity, a reminder that despite our unique journeys, we all experience similar feelings, challenges, and hopes. When we listen to each other's stories, we become aware of how much we have in common beneath the surface, and we feel less isolated in our own experiences. Connection through shared humanity isn't about focusing solely on the highs of life, it's about acknowledging the lows too. Many times, the stories that connect us most deeply are those that reflect our most difficult experiences. When we open up about loss, failure, or pain, we invite others into the parts of ourselves that aren't usually on display. These stories hold a unique power because they reveal the complexities of our inner worlds, the fears, doubts, and longings that everyone has but doesn't always share. When someone bravely opens up about a personal hardship, it creates a space for others to feel safe doing the same. In this way, vulnerability becomes a bridge that brings people together, transforming moments of individual struggle into shared experiences that foster connection and compassion. When we share stories from a place of vulnerability, we also encourage a culture of openness and honesty. In a world that often rewards stoicism and perfectionism, showing vulnerability is an act of courage. It's a reminder that it's okay to be imperfect, to have struggles, and to admit when things aren't going well. This authenticity has a ripple effect. When one person shares their story, others feel inspired to do the same. Vulnerability is contagious in the best way. It creates an atmosphere where people feel free to share their own experiences, knowing that they won't be judged or dismissed. This openness allows us to build connections that aren't based on status, success, or image, but on a mutual understanding of what it means to be human. These connections are deeper and more lasting because they're built on a foundation of truth. Shared vulnerability also fosters a sense of belonging. When we feel that we can be open about our real experiences without fear of judgment, we feel accepted and understood. We don't have to pretend to be anything other than who we are, which creates a profound sense of belonging. It's this feeling that we're truly seen and valued for who we are, not just for what we achieve or how we appear to the outside world. This is a powerful connection that gives us the strength to face challenges and the confidence to share our stories even more freely. Knowing we have a place where we belong allows us to navigate life's uncertainties with greater resilience, and it's through this shared sense of belonging that our individual stories find meaning within a larger narrative. When we witness others being vulnerable, we see that we're all on this journey together. Each of us navigating our own challenges and victories, but ultimately moving through similar experiences. This shared understanding helps dissolve the notion that we're separate or alone in our struggles. When we listen to someone's story and think, "I've been there too," it's a moment of connection that transcends words. It's a reminder that the human experience is collective, that we all share moments of doubt, fear, joy, and love. Our stories might look different on the outside, but they're woven from the same threads of emotion, struggle, and hope. Sharing stories from a place of vulnerability allows us to connect on a level that goes beyond appearances or achievements. It reminds us that we're all part of the same human experience, each of us carrying our own unique set of challenges and triumphs, yet bound by a common thread of shared humanity. Through these connections, we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and others, creating a sense of unity that's both comforting and empowering. When we choose to be vulnerable, to let others into our true selves, we create stories that don't just speak to people, they connect us in a way that reminds us we're all walking this path together, each of us finding meaning, growth, and connection through the power of shared experience. Choosing courage over comfort is an act that challenges us to step out of the familiar and embrace the unknown. This choice isn't an easy one because comfort offers us a sense of security, a space where everything feels manageable and predictable. We know the routines, the expectations, and the boundaries of comfort. But while comfort may be reassuring, it doesn't provide the fertile ground that courage offers for growth, discovery, and transformation. Every time we choose courage over comfort, we're choosing to stretch, to confront our fears, and to expand our own limits. It's in these moments of bravery that we grow, uncovering strengths and abilities we might not have realized we had. Courage is the willingness to act despite fear, not in the absence of it. Fear is a natural response to the unknown, to situations that challenge us, or to moments when we feel vulnerable. But courage is what allows us to move forward, even when fear is present, to say yes to opportunities that could lead to failure, disappointment, or even rejection. It takes courage to speak up in a meeting when you're not sure how your ideas will be received. It takes courage to pursue a dream when there's no guarantee of success. It takes courage to let someone know you care about them, knowing they might not feel the same way. In each of these situations, there's an element of risk and vulnerability, and that's where the discomfort lies. But without these courageous acts, life becomes stagnant, confined to the boundaries we create to protect ourselves. Choosing courage over comfort also means embracing failure as a natural part of the journey. When we're courageous, we're willing to take chances that may not work out as planned. We accept that setbacks are a part of growth and that failure isn't the end of the story but simply a stepping stone along the way. This perspective allows us to reframe our relationship with failure, to see it as an opportunity for learning rather than a reason to retreat. Each time we face a setback and keep going, we build resilience. We come to understand that we're capable of handling adversity, that we can pick ourselves up and try again. This resilience becomes a part of our character, strengthening us for future challenges. And the more we choose courage over comfort, the less intimidating failure becomes, because we recognize it as an essential part of any meaningful journey. Courage also requires a commitment to authenticity. When we choose courage, we're making a conscious decision to live in alignment with our values and desires, even if it means stepping away from what feels safe. This means being honest with ourselves about what we truly want, rather than conforming to what others expect of us. For instance, it takes courage to pursue a career that may not offer a traditional path or predictable income because it aligns with our passion and purpose. It takes courage to set boundaries in relationships that are draining us, to let go of connections that no longer serve us, or to say no to opportunities that don't align with our goals. This kind of courage is deeply personal. It's about honoring who we are and what we believe in, even when it means standing out or making choices that others may not understand. When we consistently choose courage over comfort, we become more open to growth, to change, and to the unknown. Comfort tends to keep us in patterns of sameness, but courage pushes us to explore new experiences and possibilities. When we step into a new situation with courage, we expand our worldview, challenge our assumptions, and often discover new interests and passions. This openness to growth allows us to keep evolving, to stay curious, and to continuously enrich our lives with new perspectives. Choosing courage means that we're willing to risk the discomfort of the unknown in exchange for the potential of something greater. We might find that we're capable of things we never thought possible, or that we're interested in paths we hadn't considered before. This sense of discovery is one of the most rewarding outcomes of living with courage, and it's something comfort alone can never provide. Courage over comfort fosters a mindset of possibility rather than limitation. When we approach life with courage, we're more likely to see challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles. This shift in perspective empowers us to tackle goals that might have once seemed out of reach and to find solutions where others only see roadblocks. Courage enables us to ask, what if, instead of saying, I can't? This optimistic approach encourages us to take ownership of our lives, to believe that we're capable of shaping our own paths. It fuels a proactive mindset, pushing us to take action and explore options instead of remaining passive. Over time, this mindset of courage and possibility reinforces our belief in our own potential, reminding us that we have the power to make meaningful choices and that we're not confined by the limitations of comfort or fear. Choosing courage over comfort also creates a ripple effect. When we demonstrate courage, we inspire those around us to consider doing the same. Others see the risks we take, the failures we survive, and the growth we experience, and they feel encouraged to pursue their own paths with courage. This is particularly true in close relationships, workplaces, and communities. When one person steps up, others often follow, creating a culture where courage is valued and people feel empowered to express themselves fully. This kind of collective courage has a profound impact on communities, as it encourages honesty, openness, and a willingness to support one another in times of vulnerability. When we choose courage over comfort, we're not only transforming our own lives but also influencing those around us to embrace growth and authenticity. Choosing courage over comfort is an act of self-respect. It's a commitment to honoring our potential, even when it feels risky. This decision doesn't mean we won't feel fear. It simply means we won't let fear dictate our choices. By continuously choosing courage, we build a life rich in experience, resilience, and connection, a life that's worth living, because it's defined by purpose, passion, and the willingness to embrace what's possible. Stepping into the unknown, that wide, intimidating space beyond what we know and can control, is where true discovery lies. It's natural to want certainty and assurance in our lives. Predictability brings comfort, a sense of security that can be grounding. But when we only stay within the familiar, we deny ourselves the opportunity to grow, learn, and experience new perspectives. The unknown, though intimidating, is where innovation and transformation begin. When we choose to venture into it, we open ourselves up to the possibility of learning things that we could never uncover within the boundaries of what we already know. The unknown is filled with potential, but it requires us to leave behind our expectations and our need for control. We often seek certainty because it makes us feel safe, but the reality is that life is inherently uncertain. Growth happens when we accept this uncertainty and see it not as something to avoid, but as something to embrace. When we step into the unknown, we're not just opening ourselves up to the possibility of external change, we're allowing internal change to take place. We discover strengths, insights, and resilience within ourselves that we might not have realized were there. Every time we take that step into unfamiliar territory, we expand our understanding of ourselves and our capacities. One of the greatest gifts of stepping into the unknown is that it teaches us adaptability. In familiar environments, we often operate on autopilot, relying on habits and routines. But in new situations, we don't have that luxury. We're forced to think on our feet, to problem solve, and to adjust to shifting circumstances. This adaptability is a skill that extends beyond any one experience. It becomes part of who we are. We learn to trust ourselves and our ability to navigate unpredictable situations. Each time we do this, we build confidence in our resilience, knowing that no matter what challenges we face, we have the tools and the strength to handle them. Adaptability becomes a cornerstone of our character, empowering us to take on even greater challenges in the future. Stepping into the unknown also brings creativity to the forefront. In familiar environments, our thinking can become rigid, confined by the boundaries of what we know. But in new, uncharted territory, there are no preconceived ideas or well-worn paths. We're encouraged to think differently, to experiment, and to approach problems with fresh perspectives. This freedom allows creativity to flourish, enabling us to come up with ideas and solutions that we might never have considered in more predictable situations. When we step out of our comfort zones, we become innovators, unafraid to try new approaches, even if they seem unconventional. This creative mindset not only enriches our personal experiences, but also brings a sense of fulfillment, as we learn to trust our own unique ways of seeing and interacting with the world. Another powerful aspect of stepping into the unknown is the opportunity for genuine self-discovery. When we face the unfamiliar, we are stripped of the familiar labels and roles that define us in known spaces. Without these, we're free to explore different aspects of ourselves, to discover new passions, interests, and values that might have been dormant or undiscovered. Maybe we find that we're braver than we thought, that we have a knack for handling high-pressure situations, or that we thrive in creative or collaborative environments. The unknown reveals parts of ourselves that we may not see in the day-to-day routines of our lives. This self-discovery is deeply enriching because it adds layers to our identity, helping us understand and appreciate our own complexity and potential. Venturing into the unknown also allows us to connect with others in new and meaningful ways. When we step into unfamiliar environments, we often meet people with perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences different from our own. These interactions expand our worldview, offering us insights that challenge our assumptions and broaden our understanding. We learn to listen more openly, to empathize with people whose lives look different from ours, and to find common ground in shared experiences. These connections bring richness to our lives, creating networks of understanding and friendship that might never have been possible if we had stayed within the confines of the familiar. Stepping into the unknown often leads us to the relationships and communities that shape us in profound ways. Additionally, embracing the unknown cultivates courage. Each time we step into a new situation, we're choosing courage over comfort, reinforcing our ability to handle discomfort and uncertainty. This choice builds a foundation of bravery that makes us more willing to take risks in the future. We begin to trust not just our abilities, but our willingness to grow, knowing that even if we stumble, we'll come out of the experience stronger and more knowledgeable. This cumulative courage becomes a defining trait, something we can draw on when facing future uncertainties. It reminds us that we're capable of facing challenges and navigating through fear, making us more resilient over time. Finally, stepping into the unknown instills a sense of wonder and curiosity that keeps life exciting and fulfilling. When we open ourselves up to new experiences, we become explorers driven by the thrill of discovering something new. Life becomes a series of adventures, each one bringing us closer to understanding the world and ourselves. This curiosity helps us approach life with a sense of excitement rather than apprehension. We start to see the unknown not as something to fear, but as a realm of possibility, filled with experiences that can enrich our lives in ways we may never anticipate. This shift in perspective encourages us to remain open-minded and eager to learn, fostering a lifelong appreciation for growth and discovery. Stepping into the unknown isn't about abandoning all security or stability, it's about making the choice to embrace life in its fullest form. It's a reminder that growth, joy, and fulfillment come from pushing beyond our comfort zones and daring to explore the unfamiliar. Through these experiences, we find parts of ourselves we didn't know existed, connect with others on a deeper level, and cultivate a mindset that sees every challenge as an opportunity. The unknown is where the story begins, where we come alive, and where we discover the richness that life has to offer. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it, because each step into the unknown is a step toward becoming our truest, most authentic selves. Embracing discomfort as a pathway to resilience is one of the most transformative practices we can develop. Discomfort is often seen as something to avoid. It's unpleasant, uncertain, and it challenges our comfort zones. However, discomfort is also where growth happens, where we learn about our strengths, and where we build resilience. Life is filled with unpredictable moments and unforeseen challenges, and if we always seek comfort, we never prepare ourselves for these inevitable encounters. Learning to embrace discomfort rather than resist it equips us with the ability to face adversity with courage, adaptability, and a belief in our capacity to handle whatever comes our way. In this way, discomfort becomes a powerful teacher, showing us that resilience isn't something we're born with, it's something we build through experience. Embracing discomfort also builds self-awareness, as it pushes us to understand our own strengths and areas for improvement. When we place ourselves in challenging situations, we quickly learn what we're capable of and where we might need more support or growth. This self-awareness is crucial for resilience because it helps us understand ourselves more deeply, allowing us to recognize and work on our weaknesses while building on our strengths. Through each uncomfortable experience, we gain insight into our character, our responses, and our motivations. This knowledge empowers us to approach challenges from a place of self-assurance, knowing that we have a clear understanding of ourselves and can rely on our own abilities. Another key aspect of embracing discomfort is learning to view failure and setbacks differently. Discomfort often arises when we fear the possibility of failure, yet failure is an inevitable part of any journey worth taking. When we allow ourselves to experience discomfort, we're more likely to encounter situations where we fall short of our expectations. But these experiences teach us that failure isn't something to fear, it's something to learn from. Each setback provides an opportunity to reflect, adapt, and try again with a new approach. The more we face these situations, the more we understand that failure is not a reflection of our worth or ability, it's simply a step along the path to success. This mindset shift is foundational to resilience, as it allows us to bounce back from challenges with renewed motivation and insight. Discomfort also enhances our ability to empathize and connect with others. When we embrace our own discomfort, we become more attuned to the challenges others face. We understand what it feels like to be vulnerable, uncertain, and to confront difficult emotions. This shared experience creates a sense of empathy, helping us to support others more effectively and to build deeper, more meaningful connections. Resilience isn't just about individual strength, it's also about the community we build around us. When we embrace discomfort together, whether in personal relationships, teams, or communities, we create an environment where everyone feels encouraged to grow, take risks, and support one another through difficulties. Learning to accept discomfort also fosters a growth mindset. When we embrace uncomfortable situations, we send a message to ourselves that we're willing to learn, improve, and push beyond our limits. This growth-oriented approach reminds us that we are not fixed in our abilities or limitations. Instead, we're capable of evolving and becoming more resilient with each experience. With a growth mindset, we see discomfort as an essential part of our journey toward becoming better, stronger versions of ourselves. We approach each challenge with curiosity rather than fear, asking ourselves, what can I learn from this, instead of how can I avoid this? This mindset fuels our resilience because it helps us view each challenge as an opportunity for development rather than a threat. Discomfort, when embraced, becomes a tool for building resilience because it trains us to face life's inevitable ups and downs with strength and adaptability. By normalizing discomfort, we become more open to taking risks, trying new things, and stepping into unfamiliar situations without fear. This willingness to engage with the unknown and uncertain creates a powerful sense of self-trust. We know we can handle what comes our way, not because life will always be easy, but because we have the inner resources to face challenges. With each experience, we reaffirm our belief in our own resilience, knowing that while we may not control every outcome, we are capable of handling the process. In a world that often emphasizes comfort and convenience, choosing discomfort as a path to resilience is a radical act. It's a commitment to living fully, to experiencing the highs and lows, and to growing through every part of the journey. Embracing discomfort transforms us, shaping our character, building our inner strength, and reminding us that true resilience is born from facing, not avoiding, life's challenges. Through discomfort, we learn that resilience is not just about surviving adversity, it's about thriving because of it. This understanding enriches every aspect of our lives, as we come to see each moment of discomfort not as a barrier, but as a stepping stone on the path to becoming our strongest, most resilient selves. In embracing discomfort, we unlock resilience, growth, and deeper self-trust. Each challenge strengthens us, showing that facing the unknown is a powerful path to becoming our best, most adaptable selves. Through discomfort, we learn not just to endure but to thrive, discovering a life of purpose, courage, and boundless potential.